Welcome to Bandwagon Beach. I'm your host, John Gennaro, and joining me today is one of my favorite people to talk baseball about. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking with someone else who's another one of my favorite people to talk baseball about. And because of this booking, it has created a thing for me mentally where I'm trying to figure out why I like talking baseball with you and tomorrow's guest. And I think the answer is, I'm not great at convincing you of things when it comes to baseball. I'll convince you of some things, but a lot of things you'll push back on me about. And I like that. I like people that push back on me. So let me give you a little bit of introduction, and then I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Please.
So one of the reasons I like that you push back on me is not just because you have a different opinion than me, but because you have a different perspective than me, because you played baseball.
Yes,
You
correct.
Played baseball at the college level.
The college level, yes.
You did not play baseball in the minors?
I chose not to, John. Whether that was my choice actually or not, not after college.
And you didn't go straight to the majors either.
No, did not go straight to the majors.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Schilt. Just kidding.
Tony La Russa, or did Tony La Russa actually play in the minors?
I don't think the minors existed when Tony played.
That's not true. He's not that old.
Do you know how old minor league baseball is?
No. How old is it?
70s?
70s. Well, even then, Tony La Russa must have been in that.
Tony La Russa's like 80 now.
Anyway.
Yeah, so we can get off Tony La Russa. I did look you up on the UC San Diego baseball site.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Nick Burke. This is the highlight on the bio. I'm sure you open this page every night before you go to sleep and look at it. But I did extra journalistic work here. So
yes.
the highlight on your UC San Diego page says, as a junior in 2008, Nick hit at a 305 clip with 48 runs scored, 35 RBI, 12 doubles, and 4 home runs. Also stole 10 bases. I have no idea how many games you played today. That could be in 1,000 games.
Wow.
But it says, had first career 4-hit game at the NCAA West Regional against Chico State on May 16th, 2008 as a junior. I looked that up. I looked up that game. If you look up that game, you get a giant picture of you.
Oh my gosh.
Swinging a baseball bat.
Are you kidding me?
Look,
this is real?
You look at my computer right here.
Oh yeah, so good old number 45.
I also noticed you wore different numbers.
I did wear different numbers. For that particular blue uniform, they did not have the number 3, or we had lost it. So that's why I was going back and forth between 45 and 3. 3 is my original number.
Because of Babe Ruth?
I was born on the 3rd.
Oh.
Babe Ruth does play a hand in that. My parents are both from New York, and they're both Yankee fans.
Okay.
And actually, my mom has an old locker band because my grandpa was a scout pitcher for the Yankees, and he got this collective, Babe Ruth, locket, that has number 3 on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
According to this, minor league baseball was founded in 1901, so don't listen to me.
Thank you. I knew that.
I just had to take a second and Google how wrong I am. I wanted to bring up this page about this game where you had 4 hits.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did for 2 specific reasons. What can you tell me about this game?
Well, if I can, I would like to say that the numbers are a little deceiving of that 305 clip. I came on strong towards the end. I went into almost a season-long slump. Kind of started out hot, struck out a number of times in the middle phases and came on late. But I do remember that game. I believe you said it was the regional or the conference tournament?
How did they describe this? The NCAA West Regional against Chico State.
Okay, so funny story about that is my brother, who is 16 months older than me, was on Chico State. We were playing against them.
Oh, man.
I think the first hit I had was a swinging bunt that I beat out to first base, and then it kind of just rolled into a couple of hits through the 5-5 hole and then a base hit up the middle. And hitting below 300 all season.
On seeing eye singles, it sounds like.
But that I actually I was first team all regional team as a result of that game, and kind of backed it up with another good game. We didn't go on to go into the World Series. That was the next year, which I'm sure you got plans to talk about that as well. But
no, we're skipping that part. No, because it's not even mentioned on your bio at all. Well, it's your high school state championships are mentioned.
Okay,
but they kind of stop at the junior thing. But I noticed because they were like, oh, he had 4 hits in this game, big game. I looked it up. You guys lost this game.
We did lose that game.
You lost that game to number 6 Chico State. And then I was reading the recap of the game, and I guess it was your first hit. They were like, oh, yeah, he put a bunt down the third base line. I'm like, why is he bunting? If he's hitting 308 and getting 4 hits, why is he bunting? Swinging bunt.
It was a swinging bunt, yes. And actually, it was funny. So we played Chico in a series, leading up to that, and I was the 9-hitter at the time. The starter had gone through, the first 8 batters, straight, and I could bunt, and so I laid down a bunt, and it was a bang bang play. Call me out. The pitcher, it was also the third out of the inning. My brother is in playing right field. The pitcher's yelling at me, why the F would you try to bunt? I'm throwing a perfect game here. And my brother, who's on his team, was like, dude, relax. Like, you didn't even face him one time. But as you'll probably notice a trend here, which I think you were getting to as well, I would hit below the Mendoza line, but when the game mattered is when I really stepped up to the plate.
You did tell me that when it got to the playoffs, you would like black out and just be a much better player. And so that's awesome. Like, that's great. I do love the fact that I have long since held the belief that like you can tell if someone's a good person or not in baseball by asking them about the Kurt Schilling, Ben Davis, Bob Brenly bunt during a perfect game or no hitter thing. Yeah. And I'm glad you got to live that out with your brother showing up and being like, stop being an asshole. Like, the guys are trying to get on base. They're trying to win a base. Like, it's a tournament. You got to try.
I'm sorry. I don't care if I'm the pinch hitter in the bottom of the 9th inning, 2 outs, and the guy has a perfect game. If I'm a bunting player, I have no problem trying to lay down a bunt to get on. I don't give 2 Fs if the pitcher's throwing a perfect game or not. I'm a position player, and I don't want him to have a perfect game, so I will do anything I can to get on base. I will get as close to his box as I can or lay down a bunt.
Right. No, it's my uncle years ago, I think it was actually around the Ben Davis thing we were talking about it, and he said my thought about it was always like, just growing up, playing ball with your friends and stuff. He's like, my thought was always like, I'll stop trying when you stop trying.
Yeah.
Like, you're going for the no-hitter? Cool, you're trying. I'm going to try too. And like, yeah, you don't steal a base when you're up 10 runs, and maybe you're not trying to work a walk when you're up 10 runs. You're just swinging, right? Let's move the game along. But no, like, no-hitter, you're trying to get on base.
I mean, there are a lot of unwritten rules in the game of baseball and in all of sports, and when I say that, I totally expect, let's just say I do lay down a bunt, and let's say I do break up the perfect game, and we face them the next day or, a series, later on, I totally expect to get hit, and I will wear that, in the back, and I'll take my first. I'll take first base, and I'll steal second and third. So I have no problem with that. But I'm here to compete, and I got to do everything that I possibly can to win.
Okay. So tomorrow's guest is going to be more analytic. You're here to play the role of a ball player who reads vibes.
Okay.
And can maybe relate to some things and potentially calm my nerves.
Okay.
Because I'm freaking out a little bit about the 2026 Padres. And we'll get into all the reasons why I'm freaking out, but I have in the last week heard 2 different people say that they thought this was the best offseason AJ Preller has ever had. And like, I start looking for people to choke when I hear that sentence. Like, that enrages me because this offseason has been dog shit. And as a matter of fact, I was chatting with H.J. Preller from the Gwintelligence podcast, and I was doing the thing that everyone does where you're kind of comparing this year's team to where it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And H.J. was like, that's stupid. You have to compare the beginning of this year's team to the end of last year's team. You have to compare this year's team, who they are in spring training right now, to who they were in the playoffs last year. And they have gotten significantly worse since then. And they didn't even get a home playoff game. They couldn't beat the Cubs. Yep. So, like, the idea that people are still like, championship or bust is crazy to me. Because let's go through it. And I'll lay out these first 4, and then I want your reading on these things, and then we'll progress.
Okay.
Or first 3. 1, you have a new manager, former relief pitcher, who has never managed before at any level above Little League.
Okay.
You have what appears to be a starting first baseman who has never played the position before.
Yep.
Who the other day, there was video of him getting instruction on where to put his feet and how to pick a ball.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, yeah.
I mean,
there are some concerns there for sure, but yeah.
I learned those things when I was 11. And then the last one is you have a starting catcher who I like. Yeah. I think he's good, but he's never really consistently started. Mm-hmm. He's pretty undersized. Mm-hmm. And last year, after the Padres traded for Freddie Fermin and started him consistently, he wore the fuck down in like a month.
Yep.
And so, and his backup is a guy who has not been able to stick with the Padres because none of the pitchers want to throw to him. Mm-hmm. The first thing that happened after Craig Stammen came out was like, Campisano's going to catch. He's going to catch a lot. We believe in him. It's going to be fine. And the next day, Nick Pivetta was like, so I'm going to have a meeting with Craig because I don't want to throw to him. It's not what he said, but he was like, yeah.
That's not what he said, but that's what he implied.
What he said was, I haven't talked to Stammen about it yet. I will, because I think me and Freddie Fermin had a really good thing going last year, and I want him to be my catcher every time.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the thing is, Nick Pivetta right now thinks he's the ace of this staff. Michael King probably thinks he's the ace of the staff.
Yep.
And Joe Musgrove probably thinks he's the ace of the staff.
Which you want that in all your starting pitchers.
Sure.
That mindset, of course.
I mean, Randy Vasquez doesn't think he's the ace of the staff. I think Randy Vasquez maybe performs well because he knows who Randy Vasquez is. Yeah. But you have these guys, and already you can tell there's going to be a little bit of like, I don't want to throw to him. I don't want to throw to him. I don't want to throw to him, which means 6 weeks after the season starts, Freddie Fermin's just going to turn into a puddle of sweat, and there's going to be nothing left. So on those three things, and you can even factor in like who they were in the playoffs last year compared to who they are now, and those three things, are you as pessimistic as I am? Are the vibes low, or are you hopeful? Are you like, I see stuff in Stammen I believe in.
Yep.
I think first basemen don't need gloves to be awesome.
Yep.
And I think Freddie Fermin and Luis Campisano just need a chance. Like, are you okay with those things?
I'm definitely optimistic. I'm not as concerned as, you opened up with this. And I think, if you go back, from, what the Padres and AJ has done, this offseason, it's not the big splashes that we've been used to seeing. But I think it's a positive. It means that our core has been together now for the last 3 or 4 years, obviously with Tatis and Machado and Crony and my boy, Jackson Merrill. How did I just forget his name?
It's a core of 5: Xander, Merrill, Machado, Tatis, Cronenworth. That's the core.
And I think that now that they've all been together for 2 years, 2 full seasons, that core. That's what I'm probably most excited about, and the consistency that we have moving forward. Because Xander came 3 years ago, but Merrill came 2 years ago.
You're right.
Right. So those core have been together for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And they've gotten some bad beats. They've in my opinion, they've underseeded their expectations, right, or underdelivered on their expectations. So I think they're hungry. I think that they know that they can win, and I think collectively they're going to take a step forward this season. So that's what I'll say. I'm definitely more optimistic than probably others, but I tend to be more optimistic than most because I'm a competitor. I compete, and I think baseball, unlike any other sport, you don't have to have the highest payroll, and it is a wacky game. And there's no doubt in my mind with the group that we have here, we can go on a run and win our first ring.
Okay, I like some of what you said there. Because I was listening to I think it was a podcast about basketball recently, actually, and they were talking about the NBA playoffs, and they were like, the reason you play a series of games is because they're hoping that at the end of the day the talent wins out. You give it enough chances, the talent's going to win out.
Yep.
They're like, but we don't watch for the talent to win out because that would be boring. And so they were like, the playoffs is not a test of who has the most talent. It's a test of who can survive.
Of course.
It's a test of will. It's a test of luck. It's a test of spirit. It's a test of toughness. It's a test of your ability to change on the fly. It's a test of all these things and talent.
Yes.
And so I hear you that you can get lightning in a bottle with a team.
Of course.
Baseball, more than almost any other sport, you can have... I call them magic, but you can just have stupid things that carry you for months.
Of course.
Months.
Of course.
The swag chain.
Yep.
You know, Joe Musgrove's camera when it first came out.
Of course.
The Patty the Batty showing up and drinking with the team.
Yep.
And not to mention all the other examples you can give from other baseball teams, right? Like,
of course.
Stupid magic can really carry a baseball team.
And I think that the core that we just talked about, they have that stupid magic, and I think it's going to be on full display this year.
Do you think it matters from a stupid magic perspective?
Of course.
No, hold on. I know I talk slow sometimes. I was going to say from a guy who clutches up. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that while you were drinking the coffee. From a guy who clutches up. No, it's a real question. Do you think there's a difference in the magic if these guys aren't spending spring training together? Because the majority of this team is about to leave for the World Baseball Classic. Like, at least half of this team is about to leave for the World Baseball Classic. Pitchers, starting position players. It's part of the reason they brought in as many guys as they did on these freaking lottery ticket contracts, because they're like, we need bodies after everyone leaves. Do you think that matters? Like, I'm worried about the last time the World Baseball Classic happened was before 2023.
Okay.
2023 was Bob Melvin's last year. That was the year that it was supposed to all come together. They signed Xander.
Yep.
They got Tatis back from suspension. They had just gone deep in the playoffs. They were bringing back Musgrove and Darvish and Juan Soto. And that was supposed to be the year that the Padres passed the Dodgers. They finished 82 and 80, maybe 80 and 82. They were 500 essentially.
Yep.
They were terrible. And there was a lot of people who like to bring that up and be like, what was wrong with that year? And I've heard people say, oh, everyone was fighting about their contract because it was all Soto cared about. And Manny, I think, was trying to get his extension. So it was all Manny cared about. And everyone was comparing their contracts to other people's contracts, and agents were getting in their ears.
Yep.
And I've heard other people say, because of the World Baseball Classic, these guys didn't really know each other. Like they didn't spend the requisite amount of time together in Peoria to be like, oh, I like you and you're cool and our families know each other. And that stuff that matters when you're on the road or late in a game being goofy in a dugout. Like, you're not going to be goofy with people you don't know, right?
Yep.
And so how much of that do you think matters? And I struggle with faith. I've been saying this a lot lately. I struggle with faith.
Keeping the faith for the Padres. Is that what you mean?
Well, ish. Right now, I'm specifically talking about Craig Stammen.
Okay.
I have nothing against Craig Stammen.
Yep.
Just putting that out. I want Craig Stammen to be the greatest baseball manager who's ever lived. I think the chances of him as a manager who has never managed and being a relief pitcher, not a catcher, not even a first baseman.
Yep.
Not someone who has ever spent 9 innings on a baseball field consecutively.
Yes.
Ever. Being the guy to manage every decision of every game for an entire 162-game season, not to mention all the clubhouse bullshit, and throw in these guys aren't going to really know each other because of all the shit of World Baseball Classic during spring training. I'm finding it really, really hard to be optimistic, and that's the number one reason. World Baseball Classic plus Stammen is my number one reason.
Valid concerns, regarding the Baseball Classic, kind of going back to what we first talked about. I think it helps us that the core has been together for the last 2 years. So I think if we just picked up, Soto in this offseason, or Merrill was just coming up and we're not getting that camaraderie, in spring training, I think it plays a bigger piece, right? So I'm happy that the core has been together for the last 2 years. Now, when these guys go to the World Baseball Classic, are we bringing up minor league guys to fill in, positions in spring training? Do you know if we're doing that? I
mean, I'm assuming they're just going to have bodies around that.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot of players who are not going to play during the regular season.
Of course.
Playing in spring training.
Okay, perfect. So I also think that's a plus, because then, guys that, could get called up, later in the season, have a little bit of, big league experience, if you will, or being around some of the guys that are not going to the World Baseball Classic. So, getting relationships started there early in spring training, I think that'll help. My biggest concern actually is, with the World Baseball Classic, you have, USA, you have, Dominican Republic, you have Japan, is that the intensity of those games early on, I think it's going to hurt those players towards the end of the Major League Baseball season, because they're going to go from crazy intensity, that's where their passion is. They want to win for their country, back to the start of a
marathon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it could hurt those players. But again, I think that we're going to have a mix of, guys doing that, and then guys, staying behind. And then when they come together, they're just going to pick up right where they left off. We know a lot of them are going to play against each other, so I'm sure there's going to be some, smack talking or jabs or whatnot. So I see it as kind of a wash.
Here's my concern. By the way, I'll give you the list. Here's the list of players that you would know, because there's players on this list that even I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know who Miguel Cienfuegos is. So list of players that you would know from the Padres playing in the World Baseball Classic. Xander Bogaerts, Alec Jacob, the relief pitcher, Manny Machado, Ron Marinaccio, also a relief pitcher, Yuki Matsui, Mason Miller, Wandy Peralta, Fernando Tatis Jr. So it's a lot of relief pitchers, plus Tatis, Machado, Bogaerts.
Yep.
That's essentially it. My concern is that if there's no World Baseball Classic going on right now, you would assume that the leader of this team, the leader of the clubhouse, would be Manny Machado. And if it wasn't Manny Machado, you would assume it would be Fernando Tatis Jr. Like if Manny was gone, Manny's traded, you're hoping Tatis takes that I'm going to be the leader in the clubhouse. And if Tatis doesn't do it because that's not his style, you would hope that it would be Bogaerts, right? But none of those guys will be there, which means in spring training, the leader in the clubhouse will be Stammen to a certain extent.
Of course.
Jackson Merrill has actually said publicly that he's looking forward to having a little bit more of a leadership role.
I love that.
With these other guys
He's my
away.
favorite player right now, by far.
And I imagine Cronenworth as the other member of this core five. And I'm leaving out the pitchers, but they're around, right? Like Musgrove's but pitchers and batters tend to stay kind of away from each other.
Of course.
My concern is that Jackson Merrill or Cronenworth or both of them take on this leadership role and they really foster this great clubhouse and they're like, all right, we got all this figured out and they're working great with Stammen. And then it's like the door gets kicked in by Tatis and Machado and Bogaerts. Hey boys, we're home.
Yep.
And they're like, well, hey, we're doing things this specific way. We voted on it.
Yep.
And Jackson said, and like Manny's looking at him like, Jackson? Who's Jackson? I never heard of Jackson. I heard of Manny.
He's not saying that, but I get the point.
My concern is whatever they build in spring training will have to almost be torn down by the time the guys come back, because I just don't see Manny and Tatis and Bogaerts walking in and going, hey, whatever Craig and Jake and Jackson built while we were gone, we're cool to just fit right in with that. Like, it's just not their style, right?
Well, I think inevitably there's going to be a new normal, right? So when they go to the World Baseball Classic and then, whoever's left behind, they're going to have their thing that they're going to do. And then when, the guys come back, it's just going to be a new normal and they're just going to have to adapt. And I've never been in a big league club, but I've been around, enough baseball, enough egos to know that not all of the most talented and best players need to be the vocal leader and the leader of the clubhouse, for everything.
Sure.
So I'm actually excited that because it's a great point. I don't know how Stammen is going to, react or handle when those guys come back, because he's going to have like this, like, oh my gosh, I'm the leader of the clubhouse. I have younger guys kind of leading the team. I have all these, guys that are probably not going to be in the bigs right now. I can really be the leader that I know I can be. Oh my gosh, now I got this guy that's getting paid, $45 million, $50 million that wants to come in and throw his big dick around. Sorry if I'm not allowed to say that.
No, you are.
So it could be a little, shell shocking, or it could be a little bit of adjustment. But I think, in life in general, there's always going to be a new normal. And when Stammen first came, to be announced, by the head coach, I think it was you that actually stood up for him, because I had some major concerns, because we know that Albert Pujols, was, auditioning, for the position. We had some other guys that are great candidates, that have experience, that are, baseball phenoms, in their heyday,
Sure.
that could have really bonded well with the leaders of the team, right?
Well, and I think part of the thinking is that Manny and Tatis are going to be playing for the Dominican Republic. I believe the manager of the Dominican Republic team is Albert Pujols.
Okay, yeah. And that would have been great, but we started opening up talking about Tony La Russa and Mike Schultz, they weren't baseball players, right? But they were respectively great coaches, and Tony La Russa has multiple World Series rings, not to mention he had Albert Pujols. So
yeah.
I think that, what do I think? You told me that Stammen is a great clubhouse guy and is the orchestrator of making people feel like they're important.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think that is, talked about enough, in sports, or especially in a long season like baseball, because and as Mike came out and said, Mike wants to do player development, right? And when you're the manager, and when you're under AJ Preller, and all the things that you hear about, is AJ setting the lineup? What is really a manager doing? Do they have to be a player friendly, or do they have to be the yes man? I think if Stammen, if he just brings those guys together, and is that guy that makes sure that every single person feels like they're important, whether they're hitting below the Mendoza line, but that, in the playoffs, comes up and he sees something in the batting practice and, hits a big home run to win it. Or if it's just let Manny be Manny, he's going to have to be, that person. I think he's going to be really tested. And I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be great, because if he's just the guy that brings everyone closer together, then who gives a shit if Manny is the leader, or if, Cronenworth the leader, or in whatever things they got going on.
So pizza party.
Why not? Who doesn't love pizza? Pizza and beer, right? Come on.
Manny and Tatis and Xander kicking the door. We're home, boys. Great. Pizza party. It's on us. It's on the team, boys.
Again, you talk about how much money these guys are getting paid, and I haven't been in the locker room to know, but do you really think that they do that? I know egos are a big thing, in all of sports, in all of life, but you really think if they come back and whatever, momentum, the other guys have built in, you think Manny, Tatis, and Xander, even if they just won the World Baseball Classic, you think they're going to come in like, hey guys, this is what we did over here, or this is what I've been doing, up until this point, we need to do it this way, not your way.
I think so. I'm looking at the whole roster, and I wanted to look at it real quick before I said this. Of the players that will be on the team this year, wait, does he beat out? He does not beat out Darvish. I'll get to Darvish in a second. We'll spend a second on Darvish. Manny has the most service time. Mm-hmm. I think that matters to him. I think he will walk into the clubhouse and go, "What do you mean Jackson has put together a new? He's 2 years. He's played 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't even play through a concussion last year. I post every day, and I've been in. Yeah. He's got a little bit more than 13 years of service time.
Yep.
And the only person who has more than him is Darvish, who has 13.1 years of service time. He is the veteran.
Yes.
And he's not the veteran on the bench. He's not the veteran playing for $1 million a year. Yep. He's not the hired bat. He is the guy that they'll probably build a statue for someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he knows that. And I do think he walks in and goes, I'm not listening to anything that anyone tells me unless they have more service time than me. They post more than me. They're going to build a statue to you. Yeah. And that's why I think him and Tatis is a weird relationship, because Tatis is never going to have more service time than him. And I think he's always looking down on him as you're my little brother. And I think that they've never really said anything outside of that one time where they blew up in St. Louis, which was Tatis's rookie year or second year. Yeah. But I do feel like Manny he's Tatis is I want to do more. And I think Manny's just no, you're my little brother. You're going to be my little brother until I retire.
And very deserving. You're right. Machado is all time. In my opinion, he's in Hall of Famer, first ballot.
I think you're right about that. I don't know if you're right about that. I think you're right about that. But I was having a conversation with someone last year. I heard this thing on a podcast where they were talking about the best player of this era. And they were it's either Manny
or Arenado.
No, not just third baseman, players. Okay. And they said it's either Manny, Bryce Harper, or Mike Trout. Which is funny because none of them have a World Series between them.
Yep.
And I mean, I think the answer is probably Aaron Judge. But between those, but like the fact that he got thrown in the conversation with those two guys, I was like, okay, yeah, he'll be a Hall of Famer. But
For sure he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays 160 to 162 games every single year. I mean, he's had a little bit of injury bug, the last, couple years, but, for the most part, he has been consistent as they come. Definitely more than Mike Trout, who I love Mike Trout well.
Oh, for sure.
And Bryce Harper has also had his share of injuries. I mean, Manny Machado, 100% is a leader. He's respected. He has earned that respect. I just don't know, really what anyone else in the clubhouse could say to him and why they would say anything to him, because I think if anything, his stats and his stature proves that he's a professional, that he's going to show up to work and he's going to be ready to play.
There's a difference between why does my mic sound like it's down? There we go. Remember Brett Favre with the Packers, and he was getting towards the end of his career with the Packers. Everyone knew he was going into the Hall of Fame. I think he had won a Super Bowl at one point, and they drafted Aaron Rodgers late in the first round, and was like, well, I guess that makes sense. Favre's coming to the end.
He didn't say that, but yeah, I know what you mean.
And Brett Favre was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And they're like, hey, we want you to train this guy he'll take over when you're done. And he was like,
chance.
Absolutely not.
Of course.
He is not taking my job. I am not going anywhere. And I do think there are two types of superstars. There are the superstars that when they get older, they're like, let me pull up the young guys. Mm-hmm. And there are the superstars that when they get older, they're like, let me hold down the young guys so that they can never get to my level. Mm-hmm. And I think Manny is more of the latter than the former. But I also think I'm some of that's in my own head. Some of that is me projecting that shit onto him.
I also think it's a terrible analogy and a terrible comparison, because you're talking about a quarterback. There's only one quarterback and there's only 32 teams. There's 8 position players that play 162 games. So, I mean, I think, he doesn't have to worry about his position. It's just, I think where leadership comes in, okay, how do we want to, build a team? How much fun do we want to have? How do we want to work out, the marathon and the long season, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think he's worried about, bringing up anyone, right? And I don't think there's any rift in that respect. It's just a matter of, hey, baseball is a fucking crazy game, and it's a long season. How do we collectively come together to make sure that A, we're having fun, and B, competing to win a World Series?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. 6 or 9 months ago, I went down this rabbit hole of the early part of Tony Gwynn's career, mm-hmm. which you were here for, but we're roughly the same age. How old are you?
I'm going to be 40.
Okay, so you were a baby.
Yeah.
You were a baby. The first few years of Tony Gwynn's career, he was not super popular with his teammates, mm-hmm. To the point that at one point he found a Tony Gwynn stuffed doll thing mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In the dugout with a noose around its neck, and blamed his teammates. That's how bad it got.
Wow. And
there was a famous...
Who was it, Tim Flannery that did that?
They never figured out who did it. But there's you can go find the Sports Illustrated article about it, where he's like, I'm really hurt, and I knew that there was problems between me and my teammates, but this takes it too far. And the reason that there was issues between him and his teammates was Tony was, in the early part of his career, mm-hmm. the guy where someone a reporter would be like, you guys have lost 8 of the last 10. What's going on? He'd be like, I'm hitting 400 over that span, so it's not my fault. He was I'm doing what I can.
It's a immature response.
Right. He's doing that. I'm doing what I can do. This is not my fault. And I think that's what grinds me about Manny too. Mm-hmm. And I think Manny gets on his teammates' nerves for the same reason.
Yeah.
Is I think Manny wants to win. I'm not saying he doesn't want to win.
Yeah.
But I do think Manny looks at it through the lens of, I did everything I can do, mm-hmm. so I don't need to be mad that we lost. If he goes 3 for 4 and the team loses, he's not going to be like, fuck.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, wasn't on me today.
Well, and that's why I kind of opened up with, the best players don't have to be the vocal leaders or even the leaders of the team.
Sure.
Because, you have to have that emotional, that vocal leader that cares about losing 2, 3, 4 games in a row. And even if they played well, hey, I would rather win and play like shit than play well and lose, right?
Would you?
I mean, my career has, been a tale of being on really good teams, being kind of the
The little run?
Yeah, the run, the cold sore, if you will. But I was always, I showed up early. I was vocal. I led by example. I was in every single game, in every single play. I was invested, and I think that's
right.
contagious.
I mean, that's an ideal role player, right? You were an ideal role player.
Correct.
And, those guys can become leaders, but it just depends on the locker room. And like with Schilt especially, I felt like he let Manny's like, I have service time, I post, I'm the one here going to the Hall of Fame, I'm going to run the clubhouse however I want to run the clubhouse, and Schilt was like, hey man, do whatever you want. Like I don't, whatever. We're gonna move on. I need to stop bashing Manny. Like
don't bash him anymore.
I understand he's a future Hall of Fame player. I understand he is a great baseball player.
Yeah.
I just like the last couple years of this team, 2023, 2024, 2025, every time it just felt like the vibes were wrong. And like every time they would interview Manny, he would just be cranky and saying bitchy things to Kevin Acee and Marty Caswell.
You can say the same about Tatis. God, have you seen his post-game interviews? I'm like, what is wrong with this
But
dude?
he's sad. He's not bitchy. And like sad is defensible when either the team is losing or you are playing poorly, right? Mm-hmm. Those things are defensible. It's hard to get out of your head when you're playing poorly. Mm-hmm. Then you start wondering like, am I going to get it back? Yeah. Have they figured me out? How much rope do I have before the team starts considering benching me or moving me in the lineup or trading me? Yeah. Like you get these worries in your head and it can make you really fucked up. But like Manny will be playing well and he's just like, bitchy with people all the time, and it just grates on me.
Okay, so then do you think if you're Manny and how you envision Manny reacts to role players that are leaders, getting on him because he's not maybe emotionally invested into how the team is playing, right? But he's still coming out here, still doing his job, still performing. Like, how do you think Manny reacts, and like how would you want him to react?
Wait, to what?
Like, If Jackson Merrill is going to become, he's not a role player, right? He's our starting center fielder.
Yeah, he's got a superstar
he wants to
contract.
take a leadership role, and he wants to be more of a local, a vocal, leader.
Yeah.
And if Manny is going to, be this, little, bitchy, person, if Jackson says something to him like, "Hey, can you turn your fucking attitude around? Like, we're trying to win some ball games here." How do you think? Do you think Manny is receptive to that? Or
no.
I mean, then I would say to Manny, if he was here, like, it's okay. Like, that we're just like seeing that, like, and maybe
I think Manny would be like, hey, when you got 13 years of service time, you can play your music loud.
Then I would challenge him, be like, yeah, I don't, and I'm not as good as you, but you can have a better fucking attitude, dude.
That's what I'm saying. But again, I'm reading between lines here, and that's probably not fair to do. We haven't talked much about the pitching. The pitching is weird.
Okay.
Yu Darvish is still under contract, despite the fact it's been, 4 months of Kevin Acee basically saying, Yu Darvish has enough money, he's going to void the contract and give it back to the Padres. And
I saw that. We were excited.
And Yu Darvish's agent is like, no.
Yeah.
A percentage of that contract is mine.
Yep.
He's not giving that back. That's my money.
Yep.
So he's still on the books. He hasn't gotten cut. Michael King said at FanFest that he needed to thank Yu Darvish because apparently that was the money needed to sign Michael King, which is funny because now they are both under contract as of this very moment.
Yeah.
Let's start with Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove is coming back from Tommy John surgery. Mm-hmm. The track record of people coming back from Tommy John surgery is a little hit or miss. Mm-hmm. The first time. The second time, it's almost all bad. First time, some guys bounce back, some guys don't. But what is pretty consistent is that almost none of them bounce back the first year to be anything close to what they were previously. It usually takes a year of like working stuff out and figuring out what your body is like now. Mm-hmm. So I think the idea of Joe Musgrove having a good year this year is a little on the optimistic side.
Well, what is a good year to you?
For him?
For you.
I mean, I don't need him getting Cy Young votes.
Yep.
I need him being I guess kind of the bulldog who, like, when they hand him the ball after a loss, he's not going to let another one happen.
Yep.
I need him to be consistent. I need him to eat innings. I cannot have 4 and 5 inning outings from him. And the fact of the matter is, they probably will be 5 inning outings for a little while until he figures it out.
Yeah.
And even he said in an interview the other day that, he's not all the way back. And when he throws, his arm feels a little different the day after, and he doesn't like it. And so he's still trying to figure it out. I would love to get 150 innings from him. I don't think that's happening. I would love him to be anything close to the Joe Musgrove of old. And I am going to be fair to him and say I'm not expecting to see that this season.
Yes. I think he's going to be one of the leaders of the pitching staff. He's a hometown kid. We got some fresh arms. Obviously, with Walker Buehler coming off of an injury.
I think he's a great leader.
I love him.
He's a great
Musgrove
leader.
or Walker?
No, Musgrove.
100%.
Yeah.
I think he's, to your point, taking guys underneath their wing and lifting them up. I think he's a great clubhouse guy. I think that's where his value is going to be. And of course, we want to see him compete every single start. And I would love if he went 5, 6 innings and, had an ERA really of 2 or 3, because I think we're going to be able to hit, right? But I mean, the game is changing. It's all about, the pen, right? Like, in our pen is, arguably the best in baseball. And I would say that, Michael King, and then, whoever is going to, step up as a 2 and 3 guy, whoever those guys are, maybe the pen is not going to be as needed as much, during those starts. So, Joe, if he's going to be our 4 or 5 starter, he can, maybe go 4 or 5 innings and then, have the pen, help him out.
We'll see, because I am a little worried that Michael King is broken. So
you've said this before.
This is Michael King's innings pitched since the pandemic 2020 season. So 2021, he pitched 63 innings, started 6 games, sorry. 2022, he pitched 51 innings, started 0 games. 2023, he pitched 104 innings, started 9 games. Then he gets traded to the Padres. It's part of the Juan Soto deal. In his first year with the Padres, he starts 30 games and throws 173 innings. And during the season, especially late in the season, there's this whole back and forth of, are the Padres going to shut him down? They need him. They can't shut him down, but they probably should shut him down, because you probably shouldn't throw twice as many innings as you've ever thrown in your entire major league career. And then they did that. And then last year, he looked super duper broken. And they're like, first it was like he slept on his neck wrong, and then it turned into then it turned into a whole shoulder thing that took months to recover. He ended up throwing 73 innings last year and had his essentially worst ERA since 2021. I am pretty concerned that man needs surgery and is avoiding it. I think there's something broken from that giant 173 innings in 2024. I don't really need your input here, because I'm just throwing a guess out there like this. But like it's just like there's a range of possibilities for Joe Musgrove. There's one where he looks like Joe Musgrove and he throws like 140 innings and it's awesome. And then there's one where he gives you like 25 innings and he falls apart and you're like, oh no. And that same range kind of exists with Michael King too, for me. Like, he could throw 170 innings and look like Michael King from 2 years ago, or he could throw 70 and look like Michael King from last year.
Well, whether it's broken or not, I hope that he took the off season. Doesn't he have a young family? Doesn't he have?
I believe he does have a couple of young kids.
I was going to say, I hope that he took the time to, whatever the ailment was, to get stronger and come back, because it is a long season. And the one point that I will make, I heard this interview. Who was the guy that was drafted by the Dodgers? Went to the Red Sox. Joe went back to the Dodgers.
Oh, the
hard-throwing guy.
The guy who wears the glasses, who like yells at pitchers or yells at batters. I like this guy. Why can't I think of his name? There's like a mural for him in L.A.
I know. And, I was a few years ahead of him. I started out at UC Riverside.
Joe Kelly.
He made a great point about what the Dodgers do. He's like, hey, Joe, you're great when you're 100%. We don't need your 90 or even 95%. So I just hope that, because pitching, you need pitching, right? And I hope that we transition to catcher very soon after this. But I just hope that we have guys, that can be brought up to be those competitive inning eaters and allow Michael King to be as close to 100% as humanly possible when we need him the most, which is get into the playoffs, figure out a way to get into the playoffs, and be effective in the playoffs.
Okay, This would be my transition to catcher. Thank you for hosting this podcast. This would be my transition to catcher, which is just talking a little bit about the lottery tickets, because I've been calling all these signings the last couple weeks lottery tickets.
Yes,
you pulled me aside at one point. You're like, that's a really good metaphor.
You're right.
I've had a couple other people be like, that's the perfect metaphor.
But who wins the lottery? So maybe just tone it down just a tad.
No. But I'm going to take it a step further. And not every lottery ticket is like, oh, I'm playing the Powerball. Some of them are scratchers, right?
Ball. Okay, great.
And
great
so
comeback.
this to me has gotten to a point where it's like you got that friend who's been unemployed for a couple of years, and you're like, come on, man, like just get a job.
Couple of years, jeez.
Yeah, start making some money, get on your feet, get a place of your own. You're going to be okay. I'm thinking like a younger person, not like a man in my 40s, and like the day that you're hoping that guy's going to like go to a job interview, instead he goes and he buys 100 scratchers, and he's like, dude, it was sweet. I got 100 scratchers for $200, and I know there's like a $5,000 one in here.
Yep.
And so it's pure profit, and I figured this out, and it's going to be like, that's who the Padres are right now.
Yep.
And it's not true for that guy. It's never been true for anybody. And at the end of the day, if you have a problem on your roster and you throw 10 bad solutions at it, hoping that one of them is going to magically be a good
or
solution.
2 or 3 stick, yeah.
Right. They might just all be bad solutions, which means you might still have the problem with no solution. This anyway. Part of this is Luis Campusano. I know he's not an additional signing, but they are looking at Luis Campusano and going, maybe it could work. Which is what they're doing with.
I hope it does.
Which is what they're doing with Herman Marquez and Walker Buehler. They're looking at it and going, maybe it could work. And like, do I want it to work for Luis? Do I want it to work for all of them? Yes, that'd be awesome, dude.
Of course.
If at the end of this year we're talking about how crazy a run it's been with this rookie manager, and Walker Buehler's getting Cy Young votes, and Luis Campusano is taking the starting role from Freddie Fermin. He's got 20 bombs.
Yep.
Like, I would be losing. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be so excited.
Yep.
But at some point, you got to look at all this and be like, you're ignoring the facts. You're ignoring the past. You're setting yourself up to fail. So talk to me about the catcher position, and then I want to talk to you about projections for this season and why I think the projections are what they are for the Padres team. But catcher, you wanted to talk catcher.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing this up, host. I, as a center fielder, outfielder in high school and in college, playing, shortstop, and even some catcher, in the, little league. I think the catcher is the most important position in the game of baseball.
It's as close to the quarterback as you're going to get.
Hands down. I think that's been our missing link in the last, 4 to 5 years, with the Padres. I don't think that we've had a great catcher and a great catching room, if you will. I think that's where AJ has missed.
Yeah. Who's the last great catcher they've had?
I couldn't tell you. Last great catcher.
It's not
Benito Santiago. No, Nick Hudley has been was
Don't
fine.
do that.
I know, fine. I don't. Yeah, I think we've whipped on catchers for a very long time.
I mean, you've had the occasional. Derek Norris had a good year. Aaron Nola had a good half year.
Ben Davis, with those calves.
I think so. So I have long loved great catchers.
I love great catchers.
I think if you have a great catcher, you have a great team. Like you can build.
Thank you.
You can build a baseball
Thank
team.
you.
Through a great catcher. The Giants, the 3 World Series in 5 years, that had more to do with Buster Posey than it did anybody else.
Couldn't be more true.
And I think the last time the Padres had a
Will Smith. Yeah, Will Smith is
Will
another
Smith with
example.
the Dodgers, yes. And I think the last time I looked at the Padres catching situation, I was like, they have a good catcher. And going forward, they're going to be good because they have a good catcher, was Ramon Hernandez.
Okay.
I think that was the last guy that I believed in as a Padres catcher. Now, you find people who, for one reason or another, believe that Ethan Salas is going to come up and he's going to be a great catcher someday. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Yeah. Maybe he'll be Austin Hedges, where defensively he's great, but he can't hit, and so he becomes a liability. Like, I don't know, but I'm with you that catcher is maybe the most important position on the team.
So when we got Freddie, I was like through the roof excited. And I know AJ, playing basketball with him. I even said, because there's a child or a hometown guy, Corey Lee, who got drafted, from Cal.
Oh, we talked about this. He plays for like the White Sox or something?
He got drafted by the White Sox and he got stuck there. He got drafted by Houston, got stuck behind, Maldonado or whatever that guy's name is, and got traded to the White Sox, a historically bad team. I was like, hey, dude, this guy, he's stuck, within the Astros organization. Go get this guy. I love him. He's a great hitter. He's a great catcher. Loves catching.
Yeah, before they got Fermin, he was he was rumored as someone the Padres were checking in on.
I was hoping and praying, and I was in AJ's ear about it. So when we got Freddie to me is a guy that I would love to have on my team as a catcher, because the way I see valuable catchers are someone that controls the tempo of the game, has tons of respect, from the pitchers, and calls a great game, and understands, what's working, what's not working, understands, all the pitchers, right? So I love Freddie, and then I don't actually care that Freddie hits below the Mendoza line. I don't care if he hits 195.
He doesn't. He hit 250 last year,
which is great. So that's an added bonus, right?
Yeah.
To me, I'd rather have him control the game, the tempo of the game, and have respect from the pitchers, have some timely hits, but also to your point of Luis and the other guys coming in, they don't want Luis catching for him, but we want to save his legs. I hope Luis comes up to this season so humble in his last 2 or 3 years of getting brought up, getting dropped back down, having unbelievable stints of hitting and catching in the AAA
on the moon.
Yes, but I just hope...
And he didn't really do any catching down there. He was mostly playing DH.
Okay, so actually, that's a great point, because when I saw Luis, I went to a couple games last year where Luis was catching, and I was actually pretty embarrassed. There was a pop fly, that landed in the field of play, just on the backstop. He wasn't even fucking close. Like, his energy and his emotional intelligence and just wanting to fucking do it, I was embarrassed. I'm like, get this guy the fuck out of here. Yeah. So I just hope that this season, because Stammen's got his back. He's already came out and got his back. Like, hey, we're going to develop him. I just hope that he comes in. Hey, he's a second guy. He can hit, but he needs to just get out of his own way and just be a role guy. Like, hey, when it's your turn to catch a good game. You're going to hit a little bit, but you're the second guy, coming out.
And now I'm glad you're here, because I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible to be a major league level athlete without being, what did you call yourself? You said you love competition, you love to compete. You're a competitor.
Yes.
Do you think it's possible to be a major league level baseball player without loving to compete, without being a competitor?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
100%.
Because I think that is his issue.
Okay.
His issue is that he has loads of talent. Mm-hmm. He's real smart. Mm-hmm. He's a quiet guy.
Yep.
He's
from Georgia, right? Or did he play at Georgia?
He got arrested in Georgia. With pot in his car or something. He might actually be from Georgia.
I thought he was.
But he's a quiet guy who struggles a bit with social anxiety. Mm-hmm. He's not. I mean, if you're in the clubhouse, you won't even know he's there. Yep. He's quiet as a church mouse type of thing. Which, that's an okay personality to have if you're like a left fielder. It's a tough personality to have if you're a catcher.
He's an introvert.
He's an introvert. But how many, do you think there's a lot of introverted catchers?
I mean, you can be an introvert, you can be an extrovert, as long as you embrace that and in who you need to communicate with understands and respects that, fine. But you have to come out and just, and say your flaws. Like, hey, I don't like all the attention, or go up to someone that you think you're going to catch for, like, hey, just want to be completely honest and completely vulnerable with you. I feel so out of whack here. I'm a little insecure. This, I don't know. I think when talking about talent,
I think that's what Stammen's trying to do this year is go you are under my wing. Yeah. I will protect you. Just talk to me and I will sort everything out for you.
No, get out of your comfort zone and talk to the guys that you actually need to talk to. I think talent is one thing. There's tons of talent that never make the professional level because maybe they don't like to compete as hard as other true competitors, mm-hmm. or they just don't love it enough to actually be the professional. I think that, and then when you are that talented, I think ego can get in the way. We talked about egos of some people before the podcast here, and if we can just be egoless, I think that's another thing that makes the best leaders, that they become egoless, and I would like to see that from Luis, hey, be who you are and be all of who you are. And I hope that the team rallies around that and respects that, hey, he's socially awkward, he's an introvert. Doesn't mean that they're not social. It's just that they come out of their shell when they are feeling comfortable. And I hope that they embrace that.
Me too. I like the idea of people getting comfortable with who they are.
For sure.
All right. We'll have this last topic, and then we can just chit chat after that. My last topic is that there's a number of prediction services, right? The Baseball Reference has one, Fangraphs has one. All these companies have a thing that spits out, looking at this team's roster, looking at their schedule, this is what we think they're going to be by the end of the year. And there's a number of factors that go into that. Yep. I don't know whether or not they factor this in, but I'm starting to think that the reason that the Padres are predicted to be a 500 team, despite winning 90 games the last 2 years, has less to do with Craig Stammen as the manager in place of Mike Shildt, Mr. 90 Wins, and more to do with the fact that the very obvious plan A for the Padres this season should be to sell. And I don't mean sell the farm. I don't mean fire sale. But they have the worst farm system in baseball because they have sold all their prospects. So they are essentially out of prospects. They're not, but they're essentially out of prospects as far as the rest of baseball is concerned. Mm-hmm. Here are the players that are not likely to be back on the Padres next season in 2027. Okay. Contractually. Michael King, Nick Pivetta, obviously Yu Darvish, if he gives up his contract. So that's 40% of your starting rotation, right? I'll leave off Yuki Matsui from this list. Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, so that's your 7th, 8th inning guys in your bullpen, and Ramon Laureano, who's your starting left fielder. So this is a team that this offseason knew that they didn't have a backup catcher, they didn't have a starting first baseman, and they didn't have a 5th starter. And they bought some lottery tickets, but they didn't really solve any of those situations as far as I'm concerned. And they are completely barren of prospects. They have the Dodgers in their division. Mm-hmm. They have the Diamondbacks in their division.
Competitive division for sure.
Who went to the World Series a couple years ago.
Giants are going to be competitive too.
They just added Arenado. The Giants are going to be competitive.
They always are.
They added Luis Ariz. They still have Devers, who they added last year. Like Buster Posey is psychotically trying to make the Giants good as fast as humanly possible.
Yep.
And you're coming off a season in which they pushed in at the trade deadline last year, right? Mm-hmm. Gave up Leo DeVries. They essentially gave up every prospect they had to get Freddie Fermin, Mason Miller, Ramon Laureano, and Ryan O'Hearn.
Yep.
Wait, what were the 4 names I just said? Were Mason Miller, he's still here. Ramon Laureano here for 1 more year. Ryan O'Hearn, gone.
Him, by the way.
Who?
Laureano.
Oh, me too. Ryan O'Hearn, gone.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who the 4th was. Freddie Fermin.
Who's still here? Yeah.
Who's still here? And obviously they lost like Luis Ariz and Dylan Cease. Like they have less talent now than they had at the end of last year. That part is pretty obvious. So if they were a 90-win team with the talent they had last year, they're probably less than that now. But like I'm looking at this and I'm like, can you make the argument that they should hold on to the last couple months of Jason Adam? Like if they're in 3rd place in the division, can you make an argument that they should hold on to the last few months of Adrian Morejon? Or should they trade him like the A's did last year with Mason Miller and get a couple really good prospects that can come up and help next year's team or the year after's team or be the future after Bogarts and Machado or age out, right? Mm-hmm. Like last year, I did think because of the situation they were in that it made sense for them to push in last year. Mm-hmm. This year, I'm looking at it already, and I'm like, remember last year they got off to that like freakishly good start. Mm-hmm. Unless they get off to a freakishly good start to the season, and once you get to the trade deadline, it's like, well, we know the potential of this team is really high, and maybe they're in 2nd place to the Dodgers, but they're in, they're fighting for a wild card spot, and you can, be like, hey, we're gonna add 1 more piece with whatever we have. Sure, I guess, but I think it's much more likely that they're sitting 3rd in the division, that they're probably not sitting in one of the wild card spots, heading into the trade deadline. And then it just becomes obvious of like, there's no reason for them to hold on for the last few months of these 5 guys, King, Pivetta, Adam, Laureano, Morejon. Those are 5 guys who are all very important to this team.
Of course.
But all likely to be gone next year via free agency. Morejon, Laureano, and Adam are all unrestricted free agents. Pivetta's got an opt-out that he will very likely take unless he is terrible this year, because it's for if he doesn't opt out, he gets paid another $13.7 million next year, which he's worth a lot more than that. Michael King has also an opt-out. If he wants to stay and make $25 million for 2 years, he can. If he has a good year with the Padres, my guess is he'll have much better offers than that on the free agent market, so he'll leave and take that. That's the thing, is like, not only do they have to be good against what appears to be some stumbling blocks that could get in their way, they have to be so good that come July, they can convince themselves that this team that had no playoff games last year and really did not get any better in terms of talent has a chance to get into the playoffs and do some damage. And that, to me, is a really hard sell. And like, we've left out all the stuff about ownership and whatever, and that's fine. I want to leave that stuff out. This is vibes. But like, I think a lot of people are looking at it and going, they're going to be okay. They're going to get to the trade deadline. They're going to realize what's more important to our organization now is not pushing in on this mediocre team, but actually building a better future path to support Tatis and Merrill and Mason Miller if he's not sold for, I mean, you could get tons for him. And I think they'll make that decision and sell. And I know that's a crazy thing to say on February 26th, but like, I genuinely think this is getting factored into like predictions, because people are just like, there's no reason for them to push super duper hard unless we were in a division that didn't include the Dodgers, and it's like we're the favorite to win the division.
I'll start out by saying this. I'm born and raised in San Diego, Carlsbad, California. Went to La Casa Canyon. Finished off my playing career at UCSD. San Diego is a very tough, sports city, right? Obviously, we don't have the Chargers anymore. We haven't won any major championships in San Diego. So I'll start off by saying, I hope that we don't sell off anyone and we go to the bitter end of trying to find a way to get into the playoffs and go on a run. I've seen lesser teams in shittier situations organizationally win championships. So as a Padre fanatic, I want them to go to the end.
Right, but if it's if it's July 10th and they're in 5th in the wild card and 3rd in the division, you're going to change your mind, right?
No, I wouldn't, because I want to win now. And that's just the thing. And I understand, why you say that. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. But sometimes, like, fuck it. Just go for it.
That was last year. Last year was the fuck it.
I mean, but why not every year? I mean, actually, in AJ and up until, now the ownership is saying, fuck it, let's go. Every year is the year, right? And so, like, because AJ got extended, or do we even know how long he got extended for?
Apparently, he asked the team not to make it public.
Okay, so who knows if the Padres are going to sell or not, or like what they're trying to do. So why not? This could be the last year. Could you imagine that the Seidler family, like, as they're trying to sell the team and they're doing everything humanly possible to sell the team, and they win and then they sell the team? Like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that just be unbelievable? So I hope that we don't. I think AJ has done a really good job of building up the farm system. I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, but how do I say this? It's a fine line, building his organization, with the team that you want to be able to compete, year in and year out and win ready now versus trying to play the long game and playing for 2 or 3 years.
But they've pushed in so many times that they're going to be like the top 5 or 6 payroll, and their starting first baseman is going to be Nick Castellanos, and their starting DH is going to be Miguel Andujar, and their number 4 pitcher is going to be Randy Vasquez. Like, they can't compete with the other teams that are up there. Yeah. Because every year they sold the future for right now, and like, eventually you run out of future.
We can compete with any team right now. There's no doubt in my mind we can, with the core that we have.
The Los Angeles Dodgers exist.
That is an anomaly, which is wild. We probably are not even going to get to this point, because MLB is going to go on a strike, because of what the Dodgers are doing. And actually, good for them. They have the means to do it, the creativity, to come up, and the players, that are willing to accept, these type of offers. But didn't David beat Goliath at one point? I understand that they're coming off a back-to-back, but didn't David beat Goliath at one point? Am I wrong?
I mean, it's not in the record books as being factually accurate.
I was thinking about this the other day, as when you asked me to come on. So the Giants are like so let's say the three brothers, right? There's two brothers and a cousin that are competitive, right? The Giants are the older cousin that it was just like this phenom, right? I call it a dynasty. 3 and 5 years, to me, that's a dynasty.
That's a dynasty.
With Buster Posey.
That's a dynasty.
Okay. Then you have the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the older brother of the cousins who are coming off a back-to-back. They've been a great team for the last, really, 6, 7, 8 years, right? The Padres are the little brothers. And we don't get respect, from LA or from San Francisco, and rightfully so. We haven't won anything. I want to embrace the little brother syndrome that has, gotten beaten down their entire childhood, but have decided to, take that scar tissue and take that toughness and find a way to fucking win when we probably shouldn't win, to your point. Because if we're getting towards the trade deadline and we're third in the wild card, but we're only, down 5 games, fuck it, go for it again. Why not? I mean, there's only going to be one winner. And like we've said, we've seen lesser teams with, shittier organizational situations win. And I think I would close, this segment with this. I hope that you're talking about leadership, talk about players, playing for San Diego, Salmon coming in, there's a lot of, hurdles that get by. I hope that every player is wants to compete and win a championship, not for anything other than themselves. I think that's where we kind of, there's a gray area where hey, we want Salmon to come in here and be, the next coach for 10 years. So let's play for him. Or Peter Seiler, was on his dying wish, he wanted to win, put together a team.
Do it for the fans.
Let's win for him. Do it for the fans. We've been showing out for the last, 10 years. God, there's been a lot of exciting times. Do it for yourself. Really?
No, I'm not laughing because I disagree.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because that's such a good idea that I in my head, I'm like, they should hang a banner at Petco Park that everyone could, all the players can see. It just says, do it for yourself.
Yeah. Do it for yourself. Manny, do it for yourself. Tatis, do it for yourself. Merrill, do it for yourself. And that's the thing, because
I do love that.
I mean, because baseball, again, every sport is unique, but baseball, for those, that don't know baseball is a very intimate, probably the most intimate, sport there is from a team sport perspective, right? Because it is the pitcher versus the hitter. And arguably you can say it's the pitcher and catcher, versus the hitter.
And everyone's watching that
and
one
everyone's
spot.
watching. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't mind Manny, being Manny, right? Because at the end of the day, Manny is asked to perform on a team in the box by himself.
It is the weirdest sport because it is both a team sport and not a team sport.
Yeah.
It drives me. It's crazy that you cannot win games by yourself.
You can't.
But you will be defined by the back of your baseball card. It is actually a bit of a mind fuck. All right, we have gone on for an hour. By the way, as far as Padres being little brother, third oldest team in baseball last year.
I'm just saying the little brother of the West Division. Or
you're talking mentally, spiritually, philosophically. I mean, also the Dodgers were older than the Padres. They were the oldest team in baseball last year. Yes.
Yes, and just the hierarchy of within the last 15 20 years of who's won, right? I just because I'm the little brother. My older brother, I just kind of saw this vision oh my gosh, he was like the Dodgers, he was he had the most talent and, and then, won all these things. Right. And so then we also had a cousin who was just a phenomenal athlete, went on. So we kind of set the tone, and I'm the little brother. So I want to win for me. And as a little brother, to win. So I hope all the players, and I hope all the fans, and I hope the organization does it for them, because collectively, if we all do, I'm not even going to quote Bill Belichick, but do it for yourself, right? Don't do your job. Do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself. I might try and bring that back a few times. Do it for yourself. Don't do it for me. Don't do it for the fans. Don't do it for the money. Just
do it for yourself.
Do it.
Why not? I love it.
It's the best motivator, because who's in the batter's box with you?
And what do you play for? If you're I'm sorry, I've had conversations, with teammates. They're like, it's so hard to play for this guy, or like, this guy's being an asshole. Like, it's tough to play, alongside him. I don't compete for anyone else other than I just love to compete.
Yeah. Can I tell you a stupid story?
Please.
And then I'm going to let you talk about your business for a minute before we get out. Because if someone has been listening for more than an hour, they want to hear about your business. Stupid story. This is not just to be, before anyone makes fun of me, this is not me comparing the video game version of myself to an actual athlete. But I like to play MLB The Show, right? And I like to create a character and go through the minor leagues and work my way up to the majors. And I think the reason I like it is it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. It's a competition. Yep. It's often a competition against myself or against the computer, right? But B, it makes me realize like the mental gymnastics that does happen to a hitter, right? Sometimes I get into these places where I am too slow on the fastball, too fast on the breaking ball. And I'm just stuck there. And like, I have talked to actual baseball players who play for the Padres and other major, and they're like, that is a thing. It is fucking hell. Yeah. They're like, when you get stuck in that spot where you are late on every fastball and you are early on every breaking ball and you cannot make yourself fucking slow down or speed up, they're like, it is hell. That is what causes slumps. And I'm like, okay, great. But like, I will be playing this game and I'll be screaming at it. And my wife or my daughter will come in and they'll be like, why do you do this if it makes you angry? And I'm like, because it's a challenge. I'm like, I'm sitting here enraged, screaming. And I'm like, and what I'm telling myself is I need to calm down and focus because otherwise this is going to get worse. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is me training myself to, in the middle of all the chaos, in the middle of being frustrated, angry, and thinking like I fucking suck and I'm never going to be able to figure this out, I calm down and I go, I know exactly what I need to do. And then I do it. And then I'm like, I fucking knew it. I had it in me the whole time. And so I like getting into that spot because it makes me realize it's not as simple as like, well, Tatis's a good hitter. Why doesn't he just get up there and hit? Yeah. And it's like, because like you are up there with your thoughts. Actually, I did want to ask you this. I was thinking about this earlier. I do play golf. Yep. Also not professionally. And my thing with golf is that sometimes I have too many swing thoughts, right? So now what I do is I kind of rotate through swing thoughts. There's certain things that I'll just do naturally at this point, but I'll be like, okay, when I go back, I need like wrist down. And then eventually like, I'll be like, oh, I'm not finishing. And I'm like, okay, just remember to put your wrist down. And now my swing thought is going to be finish, right? Yep. And I'm like, the thought process of people watching is like, the guy in the batter's box is just thinking about the pitcher and what the pitcher is trying to throw him and how he's going to react to it. I don't know that that's totally true. Do baseball players have swing thoughts? Are you like, hey, when it's coming, make sure to keep my elbows in or whatever?
We're just like you. They're just like us.
Well, but I'm comparing different sports. I'm comparing golf and baseball.
Of course, everyone does it. And you're talking to the slump king. I was known for going on very long and deep slumps, and I was a mental zoo. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, when they're in it, you've seen Tin Cup, like, well, you need to go get drunk. You need to take everything out of your left pocket, put it into your right pocket.
I was gonna say, I'm sure you've tried everything to bust a slump.
Slump busters, right? Putting everything, like I said, onto the right, to the left. Batting gloves, no batting gloves, step out, step in, like, oh yeah.
Just try everything.
Try everything. Yeah. I think Cal Ripken, the Iron Man, who I have a great story about, I think, isn't he known for having like, 25 different batting stances over the course of his career? He
would change it every at bat. I mean, there are players like that. Will Myers used to do that. Will Myers used to play a game and he'd come up to bat 4 times and he'd have 4 different batting stances. And it's just like, what are you doing? And it's like, I'm just trying stuff.
And to the point that you made, like, you're going through this thought process, and I think the best hitters and the best coaches even like try to stay quiet because sports and hitting more than probably anything, and then really golf too. You're still swinging. It's between the ears. Like if you can just quiet that down and just like just go out there and compete. I mean,
I do occasionally go like, all right, this time I'm walking up. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm going to walk up.
And
I'm going to set my.
Now that didn't work.
I'm going to set my feet and I'm just going to swing. Not a thought in my head. And the first time I did it, I fucking crushed it. And I was like, I have figured out golf. The next time I did it, I missed the ball. Like I think I went under the ball so much that it like brought up like the grass and the mud, and my ball was still sitting there. And I was like, okay, so that doesn't work every time. That just worked that one time.
Oh man, it's so tough.
It's brutal. All right.
Hitting a baseball is so tough. It's the hardest thing to do in sports. And I know I'm biased.
No, I think you're right about that.
It is.
It's there is no other sport. Like, okay, they all have their challenges, right? And like golf, you're hitting a tiny ball with a tiny little face of a stick. I get that. It is the only sport where you have to make a decision based on what you are seeing, and you have less than a tenth of a second to do that.
It's the hardest thing in sports.
It seems impossible.
It's a great debate, and I'll be on the side of it's the hardest thing.
I'm with you. I think about this every now and then. It comes up in bar conversation, and like I think I used to argue like, well, no, it could be this and it could be this, and in football you're getting your head crushed in while you're doing it. And you're worried about but I think it's legitimately the hardest thing to do in sports. All right, tell people about because if someone has listened for an hour and 15 minutes, they love you.
We've been talking for that long.
An hour and 15 minutes, they love you. If someone is still listening, tell them about your roofing company in case they have a leak after all this rain and they need some help.
We did have a lot of rain this past week, a lot of different types of rain. The first thing I ask people is like, hey, when it leaked, do you remember what kind of rain it was? Like, people look at me
was
like,
it heavy rain?
There's heavy rain, there's wind-driven rain, there's light rain.
We did have all of those.
There's heavy wind-driven rain. So that's one of the opening questions, if they do have a leak, because then I can start the assessment process of, is it a system failure, or is it, something that's an anomaly that may never come back again unless we have a heavy wind-driven rain. That there's nothing that that I can do or anyone can do.
Sure.
Because roofing system is not a perfect design. You have ventilation, you have slopes, and you have exposure.
I mean, I had a leak in there like a year ago, 2 years ago.
We've known each other for a long time.
I know,
or at least in the last 2 years.
You may have actually helped me at this point, or maybe it might have been before we knew each other. I had a leak in there, and I was like, oh no, there's a leak in the house. Might be something wrong with the roof. No, it was the we had wind-driven rain that drove the rain into the window, and then the ceiling around the window had gotten so old that it had dried out, it had cracks in it, and that's how so the roof was fine. I literally just had to rip out the sealant and put new sealant in. Boom, done, good.
The amount of calls that we get, for just that windows, and when windows drive me nuts because they're so hard. And like if you have a 2-story house or a commercial building, with exposed windows, gosh, they're just a nightmare. But I will say that, Triton's Roofing, we started about 3 years ago. I've been in roofing for the last 10 years. And it really started as a result of, being in sales. My wife and I, we bought a house in San Marcos. I started, doing some, renovations, and got hit up by a recruiter like, hey, here's this opportunity for, selling roofing material, as a manufacturer rep. And that evolved into, starting a small business, got my credentials, have my license, I'm insured, bonded, all that good stuff. So I guess the point is I'm trying to make is that I started the business, from a place of compassion to, having roof leaks. My roof did leak. I got into the roofing game, and I forgot more than I know, and I just want to be a service, to the community, and I want to have some fun while I do it. So Triton's Roofing, the work is strictly business. The Z is just for fun.
Do you have a website as I look it up?
Yeah, but the website is just essentially a business card, on the website. There's a standing seam metal roof on there when we don't even do standing seam, so it's not legit. But there's ways to contact us. I do have an Instagram post.
I was gonna say I just came across the Instagram. Is this gonna be pictures of roofs?
Pictures of roofs. I just posted my first pictures of my sister. She had a roof leak.
Nice.
I solved a roof leak.
Look at you.
Yeah. So I'll come out. I offer free inspections, free assessments, solution options, and we're here to help.
And if we need you to lay down a bunt, could you do it?
Only if it's bottom of the ninth, 2 outs in a perfect game is going.
107, Mason Miller. Can you get a bunt off?
Not a fucking chance in hell.
Because you don't know where it's going, right? That's the thing. It's just like the thing about someone throwing that hard is it's just taking away decision time. You have no time to make a decision.
Honestly, with I'm a right-handed batter. If it came to that and Mason Miller was there and I was asked, I would want to go up left-handed, try to do a drag bunt, then try to bunt right-handed, against Mason Miller.
Do you do the fingers behind the bat so that you don't get you don't hit him?
Actually, in my senior year, I actually went for a drag bunt, and my index finger was pretty straight, and it slid off my bat, and then it slammed the top of my finger. It was the most painful thing I've ever.
Did it break?
So I don't know, but you can see there's a little indent in here. It never got corrected. My whole nail came off. Oh my God, it hurts so bad. And it was my throwing hand, and I couldn't even feel my finger. It hurt so bad.
I hate bunt injuries. They're just something about fingers breaking just feels extra. You can feel it in the story. All right. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
This has been lovely.
Fun.
This is your first time on a podcast?
So I've been, if you count Jim Rome on the radio.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So I called in, I got in, when Joey Bosa, got drafted by the Chargers and, that whole debacle trying to sign him. And I've also been on Dan Patrick.
Wow.
That was pretty cool.
Wow.
So maybe a podcast? No.
Big time.
Not a legit one like this, though.
This ain't legit.
I couldn't measure it. Anytime